If you want to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I just am working my way through all the technology things. I said to Kim, I haven't done an email since last Wednesday. Then I realized it's like all this stuff I have to do. So I'm gonna have to talk to Tyler on one device anyway. We come to the first privilege of the floor. Is there anyone that would like the privilege of the floor? Anyone online that would like privilege of the floor? Is there anyone online?
It's just us.
Okay, good. So just, I just briefly looked at the minutes because I just got them this morning. Did anyone have any additions or corrections?
Make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I'd like to go just a little bit out of order from the committee business. So just to hold off on minimum house size, if you could look at like the floodplain ordinance and the vacant building stuff first. I know that Mike sent out a bunch of stuff. So why don't we look at
I think it says chapter 88, is that what it is?
yep.
I
The
just have to
floodplain, the
ask a
floodplain
question.
ordinance.
You just said Mike sent out a lot of stuff.
He just handed you a lot of stuff and sent out a lot of
Yeah, I
stuff.
sent this out to Nadler and a few others on.
Not everybody on.
No, I wanted to just I try not to send stuff out directly to everyone in the committee. So apologies for that. Basically, this is chapter 88 is what we utilize for unsafe buildings right now. That is when we try to vacate buildings, condemn buildings, repair buildings within our scope, outside of the scope of court. Okay. Generally, it's utilized for emergency actions more than anything else, such as, house caught on fire and we need highway to tear it down. That falls underneath this section. Very rarely would we ever bring something not emergent to the town board, which is the ultimate authority underneath this document for any action. Our current code, it works. This is just a cleaner version of it. Our current one has a lot of back and forth between the code office, town board, legal counsel, Terry County Clerk's office. This streamlines it.
Just a direct access. It's more direct for you. It's
Yep.
a better document for you to work with.
Correct. The only other addition that we added in here was a vacant building registry. That was a big push about 2020 when the zombie home grants were coming out. Those grants aren't active anymore, but a vacant building registry is something that we definitely should look at and that our office recommends going forward with. All that means is that any home that's vacant for greater than 90 days and has no current certificate of occupancy shall be registered by the property owner. Okay. If it's underneath maintenance company can go through and do that as well. Best example are for foreclosures. Thankfully, we haven't seen a great influx of those, but that was generally the basis for this addition. It provides not only our office with contact information should there be any issues on the property, but also first responders if there's any issues on the property for them. And provides us with a means of remediation.
So back to the unsafe buildings, what did you change?
Oh, biggest things. There was a whole entire section on what defines a unsafe building.
Okay.
Pulled that right out. We're just going by New York State code.
Okay.
So that had a whole bunch of stuff that really isn't applicable, and that I would have a hard time trying to not grasp, but utilize. Aside from that, the biggest change was public hearing notices. Now, instead of, I think it was a 2-day or a 5-day notice, it was a 5-day, we're doing a 10-day. That was really it. Everything else was more just vocabulary cleanup and general process.
Can you redline or scratch out the modifications in future?
I could, but the entire document. So proof point, I actually pulled this from about 10 different towns in Monroe County, all utilize the same document. So it's a total scrap of our current one. It's just organized differently.
Mhm.
So instead of all the red.
In a nutshell, what's the difference between vacant and unoccupied? And why do we differentiate?
So vacant is anything greater than 90 days with no valid certificate of occupancy. So generally that means that something has happened with the structure or that it's not, that it's unsafe, but it's not to that category or level that we need to take action to remediate the issue. Prime example would be a house. We actually have one right now. It's vacant, gentleman's in the hospital, say someone breaks the window. Well, that's a vacant building. They need to board that up, but we wouldn't classify it as unsafe. We would classify it just as a vacant building.
And that's greater than 90 days.
Lawns are also a really good example. There's quite a few structures that are vacant where the lawns have gotten out of control. And then we try to go through and resolve the issues. And the only remediation that we have right now is going through state, which is 3 months, and court. So this allows us to take care of it at a local level.
So in the hierarchy of undesirability, the vacant building is worse.
Then they,
Unsafe.
No, he said unoccupied, not unsafe.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. And Nadler got this, I want to say about a week and a half ago, but I haven't gotten anything back from him, so. Still waiting on his clearance with everything, but like I said, it's same document as Pittsford, Barrington, the same ones that I generally contact and bounce ideas off of. So,
When would the code enforcement officer recommend demolition of an unsafe building? What would trigger that?
so generally there's 3 categories for an unsafe structure. There's just vacant, which doesn't classify as an unsafe, but it's still underneath state code in there. Then we have unsafe with hazards. So that would be holes in the floor, roof damage, stuff like that are interior. That would be an issue to anyone inside the structure. That's where we would just board up and leave it. Once it gets to the point of it's a hazard to the general public and to neighbors, that's when we would recommend demolition.
What would make it a hazard to the general public?
Possibility of collapse, environmental issues, stuff like
Rodents,
that.
things like that.
Yeah. So that's generally the steps that we go through. And that works out.
So just as an example, somebody's got a little shed that's full of rats or something. Is that something where the town would move in on this type of thing?
Not underneath this, we would use just general New York State code, property maintenance code,
Okay,
and have it taken care of that way. This is generally,
a bigger structure.
yeah, I mean, if we went to court for a demolition of a structure, we're looking at 6 months. And we'd have to go to county court, which there's fees incurred with all of that and a lot of legal time. If we just wanted to go through and have the town board issue an order to demo, that would take us less than a month underneath this document. And that's really where we're going with this.
Since I haven't read this before, is there something in here regarding historic structures or somehow protecting historic
Nope.
structures?
Because there's no, an unsafe structure is an unsafe structure, whether it's historic or not.
But the town board ultimately would have the ability to say no to that at some point in time before we're demolished.
Yeah, so the town board has the authority to either grant remediation, repair, or order, excuse me, remediation, repair, or demolition. Okay, demolition is the easiest one to try and explain, but yes, you can go through and order it to be repaired with the assumption that if it's not repaired, it's getting demolished. Because ultimately, we acknowledge historical value, but the safety of the general public and residents is the higher priority. So that's where this document leads. Those are rare. I mean, the best example would be Cheshire Grange. That was declared unsafe. Never got torn down. There was never any attempt to tear it down. It was just placarded and secured, which was fine. So. And now that one's being remediated right now, so it should be opened up soon. What's that?
They've been at it for years.
They've been at it for years, but they've made a lot of progress in the last 6 months. I'll give them that.
Any other discussion? So I guess what we're waiting for is just for Chris to go through this and make sure everything's on the up and up.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, with every single code revision, I try to get his opinion on it. So we'll see when we get that back, and everything should be good. Because theoretically, it is the same code as several other municipalities, and there's been no contention or argument against.
So we'd like to get this changed to the town board then at the next meeting.
Is it gonna make October at this point? That would have to go through this week, or for September, it'd have to go through this week, so probably
Okay.
October.
Yeah.
Because now there definitely needs to wait.
Yep.
Could we get these a little quicker in
Yeah.
the future? I mean,
I-
this is the first time I've seen this.
Yep. And Dave had an issue with his email.
Yeah,
So,
apologize.
and that's generally, I send it off to Chris and Dave because then disseminate it out.
Right.
So,
All the more reason for the October meeting, we'll go to September.
Yeah, we can do,
I'd
let's,
like to read it.
let's target it for October. Well, let's get the copy from Heather. I will, I'll text them and let them know if we can get that out. That'd be great. Floodplain.
I sent an email out to probably about a month ago. Our draft is currently sitting on FEMA's desk with DEC. It's not there because I need to get it approved by FEMA before it makes it. That's just the only update. So before I take it back to, or bring it back to community level, I want to get it approved by FEMA and DEC. We're not arguing, but there's a disagreement on a few sections that they're used in other FEMA regions, but they haven't been utilized in Region 2, which is what we're in. And so I'm trying to show some case history and context to make it relevant.
You adding to or taking away from the floodplain? Okay.
What do you, I
Your
guess,
disagreement, is it an addition to an area prone to flood? Or-
no, it's a section of the code.
Oh, of the
Yeah.
code, okay.
Yeah, so FEMA's the only one that can add to the floodplains
Yeah.
unless we get an H&H study. This section specifically is about home sales, similar to our septic law, where if you were to sell your home within a floodplain, then you need to request a compliance certificate for the new homeowner stating either your house is compliant with floodplain ordinance or it's not. They just haven't seen that. So I'm showing them some brief history and context.
How much of a disability is that? How long does it take to get that kind of a survey or certification?
The compliance certificate,
Yeah, is that a big deal?
no, it'd take about our office, maybe an hour.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. It'll also help us out with documenting what properties are and are not compliant. So that should we have an issue July 9th, then we're not scrambling to try and figure it out. Because right now we don't have any records. So,
So do you anticipate there'll be a pushback from FEMA or they're just
Nope.
taking their time?
no, they're taking their time.
Yeah.
It's, so when New York State first became NFIP, which was 1977, and that's when everyone adopted it, DEC handed everyone a local law and said, here, sign this. So there's maybe 4 communities that have different local laws. So we're moving in that direction.
Mhm.
And it's something that DEC really hasn't seen. And there was a lot of questions at first, but we're going through it and trying to get it resolved. So not so much pushback, just more of, oh yeah, we haven't thought about that, or, oh, that's a cool idea. Where'd you get that from? And going through that way.
So do you anticipate Chris would need to look at that prior to maybe sending that on?
No, I
Okay.
wouldn't, because it's already going through New York State DEC and FEMA. So they're legal.
So as soon as we get it, we'll get it out and then we'll push it on.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I should have something by the end of this week, so.
So it's up.
Lots bisected by the right of way.
I don't think we have that ready.
That
We
was,
don't have that ready.
yeah, Chris was supposed to write something up.
Chris on vacation. Let's talk about
Well,
mid.
Chris's budget is not filled in the finance committee, so maybe he's waiting till it's not in the
He's waiting for
negative.
I thought you were gonna be joining us by Zoom at these meetings, but apparently not.
Yes, apparently not. I'll touch base with him and ask him if he could do that, at least for the first little bit that we can get his input on stuff going through, so.
After we fix the budget to be able to pay him to attend the
Yes,
meeting.
yes. Minimum house size.
So I think our current minimum house size is 1,100 square feet, and we've had lots and lots and lots of discussions on lowering and or eliminating that amount. So this time I know
Yeah, we
our development
prepared
office prepared some
two
documents. for
drafts.
that.
They're both over there, and you probably all have a copy. One, and there's certain, how many sections did we edit? I think a couple different chapters of code where
Let's see,
minimum home
5,
size
6.
is discussed. So you have two versions, one that eliminates the minimum home size, which would just mean that, you know, people need to build something that's safe according to New York State code and code enforcement, but the town wouldn't dictate what, you know, how big it needed to be. The other version is just making the minimum 400 square feet, which was Murphy's suggestion based on, what is it, New York State definition of a tiny home?
Yep. Yeah, New York State classifies a tiny home as anything that's 400 square feet and less.
So I have a question. Each of the ones that were here in the pile address manufactured homes. I thought that we were talking about any home.
It's further back, I think, right?
It's just that if you're gonna talk about minimum square footage of a home, you need to talk about all of them. And there are lots of sections of the town code that discuss manufactured home sizes.
Well, I
So they
guess that's
need to
my-
be edited.
That's my question. So
There's only one space in the town code that discusses minimum home size for a traditional stick-built home, and that's in there. But the other sections that we're editing address manufactured homes, so you have to address both.
yeah, that's my question. Yes, I wanted to address both. And so the other one is in here also for
Yes.
standard homes?
Yes, it's just, I think it's chapter 220-9,
9.
letter T.
Okay,
Yep,
Thank you.
back to the first page.
thank you.
I think it's T.
No, that's-
So currently in our code, there are no accommodations for building under an 1,100 square foot house. So
Correct.
no one could come to the town and ask for a variance to build a smaller home,
No one's tried that.
but could they?
220, yes.
Variance.
And that's what I've told people who called to ask if they could put a little
Right,
house. Like, you can ask. I don't know, I never looked at the history if that variance has been requested and granted.
What happens is when, like Uptown Landing is designing their project, they're not looking to do anything under 1,100 square feet because they see that that's their town minimum, so they're automatically gonna start above that instead of having. I mean, they can do incentive zoning like they are, but general projects, they're gonna always look at that as their starting point. So
I think it's a pretty big move to go from 1,100 square feet to 400 square. feet. What's the danger? What's the upside?
It's
Environmental, floodplain, environmental water quality impacts, smaller
Water.
structures equal more infiltration. Home cost, home price.
Yeah.
I think the negative is potential changing quality characters of neighborhoods.
I would argue against saying quality. You can build a very high quality.
Oh, yeah,
style
no,
home.
you definitely can, but it's a change in the character. I do want this lowered, for sure. I just don't know if I can stomach something below 700 for me, but. Because tiny homes are a very different style than, to traditional stick-built home. So it's more of a stylistic thing than anything else that makes sense. But I did actually want to hear from Karen, because she is,
I was just going to ask if I could speak.
yeah, she's our former affordable housing guru over here. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this too.
Well, I'm on the Ontario County Affordable Housing Ad Hoc Committee. And this was one of the factors that we have discussed, lot size and square footage, home square footage. And we have a couple of builders on that committee. And I come from a building company myself, and I know that pretty much square footage doesn't make a lot of difference in cost on the basic house. It's the mechanicals that can be different, and the interior design. However, size does make a difference when it comes to maintenance and upkeep, and things like heat and electric bills, things like that. But but the study that Ontario County had determined that this is a factor in promoting affordable housing for everybody. That smaller home sizes and smaller lot sizes would certainly lead to, I'm not gonna say tiny home developments, because I frankly don't really believe in that also, but will lead to a development of similar sized housing. And it would fill in the lack of that starter home basis that we do not have in many communities in Ontario County. And one of the secrets to providing affordable housing is having that factor: starter homes, intermediate homes when you have families, old age homes, which typically are ranches, and single floor homes. So we're missing that one element. And this would be a start to provide for part of that element. I'm not saying it's the answer to all of it. Not one particular thing isn't, but it's a start. And I personally would encourage municipalities to take a really good look at lot size and a minimum home house square footage. So that's where I stand on it, and typically our entire board has discussed that. Even the builders realize the importance of having this element in the scope of housing in any single municipality.
Did the housing committee have any size recommendation for minimum size or zero minimum size? Or?
They, every municipality is different. And what would be a minimum size in Phelps would be entirely different than what it would be in St. Victor. And the same way that it would be different in Victor than in Canandaigua. So it all has to do with your population, your, for lack of a better word, your open space development, your parks, the amenities your municipality offers. No, we did not come up with a number, just to take a look at it and perhaps start by reducing it. I hate to say you can always go further, because I know it takes a long time to do that, but take a look at it, and any kind
So
of reduction could be of benefit.
400 square feet is that
That's-
much larger than this room.
But I think that refers, in reading this, that refers to mobile homes. And 400 square feet is a pretty standard mobile home size.
It's more than mobile homes. That's just-
Manufactured homes, I'm sorry.
This particular section is for manufactured homes, but it would be
Yeah,
townwide. What's single wide is how many square feet usually?
Between 500 and 1,000 square feet,
And a double wide is like 1,100. That's what we're at. 1100.
about 1,200, yeah.
Okay.
the mobile home I own is 360 square feet. It's 2 bedrooms, and it's big enough for a small family. A very small family.
Yeah.
What, Sarah, how does this work, if someone wants to build a townhome? Do we have a minimum square footage for townhomes currently?
Yeah, it's in here.
Again,
It is.
So like apartments and townhomes, I know.
Yep.
we have
So excuse me, we'll start with townhomes.
Next page.
Thanks.
yeah, top.
Right now, townhomes, 3 units are a minimum of 1,000 square feet, 2 bedrooms are 850. For apartments, it is 450 for an efficiency. That's fancy term for a studio. 1 bedroom is 550, 2 is 700, 3 is 800, and 4 is 9.
So currently the smallest residence you could build would be a 450 square foot studio apartment.
Correct.
in town. And the smallest townhome you could build was, what was it, 8 something?
850.
And 850 is doable for a small family.
Oh, yeah.
When we first moved to Canandaigua, we had a 2-family home, and it was 850 square feet on each side. I had 3 kids. So me and my husband and 3 kids lived very nicely in 850 square feet.
My first home in Canandaigua was just under 1,200 square feet, and it was a 3.5 bedroom. It had a dining room, it had a study and a kitchen. It was a two-story Victorian home, so.
But this is a pretty big departure from what we currently have and what the,
It
what,
is,
what the
yeah.
town of Canandaigua is and why a lot of people moved here.
I
I mean,
agree.
I would-
I'm not comfortable with 0 or 400. I'm just not. I would like to see it reduced, but I would think 700 would encompass most of the stick built homes that we see in this area. I would prefer to see it at 700. Again, like Karen said, just with the possibility of a change going forward, if that's something that we don't want to do, but I would rather take this incrementally and see what happens. And 0 or 400, I recognize the cleanness of that, but that feels like a big character change to me, so.
I see no problem with 850, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And that's a relatively, that's small,
Mhm.
but it's livable and it's comfortable for most families with 2 or less children or seniors. So you're providing for a good portion of the population.
I mean, the closest one, and I shared you some floor plans with you before, David. I mean, the closest comparison I can have is all along Fort Hill Ave. There are some 600-700 square foot homes. That's in the city, but on Fort Hill Ave that are, just little ranches kind of thing, so.
But we don't have any 850 square foot houses in the town, do we?
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
Sure you do.
We have 500 square foot homes.
And you probably never noticed them.
They're predate code.
Well, I said where?
Fallbrook or Sandy Cove is one. There's 3 of them on Sandy Cove. There's a few down in the R1 area that are off the road that predate the code.
How big are the homes on Purdy Road there, the manufactured home?
Those, I mean, majority of them are double wide, so I don't.
Over.
I mean,
1100,
that's,
yeah.
yeah,
There's some of the structures on the north side of Purdy Road.
yeah,
there,
the
there's
older
few-
ones.
Yeah, that.
But you're probably looking around 600, 700
Yeah.
for some of the old ones.
It's in the city, but I'm guessing Canandaigua Avenue, those national homes that Gene Fisher built. Most of them are probably 800 to 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, I think those are in there with that.
We had one on Buffalo Street that was probably that size, but it had a family room built on. But that was big enough for the wife and I and 3 kids.
And there's some of them
I can
on
tell you
Bristol
of-
Road.
Of one family that lived on North Street, going out toward the high school, who had 14 children
Mhm.
and lived in one of those 3-bedroom national homes.
Yeah.
14,
Big
all of
relative.
whom lived there at one time.
So I think most of us
Selective
agree we
shifts
should
or-
be willing to lower. Is that something? There's an appetite for lowering it from 1,100?
I'm sorry.
I'm just checking with the board members. Is there
Yeah,
an
I-
appetite for lowering the 1,100?
I don't think so.
Not for you.
Not for me.
What is your concern?
I just think if you look, I mean, we all had to put our heads together to come up with a handful of homes that are under that now. And I think the character of the town of Canandaigua is not 500 square foot homes or
Okay.
700 square foot homes.
Again, I'm worried about elitism, that your neighborhood or most of your neighborhoods, the cost of the land will block out anybody that wants to put in a 400 square foot home. That, as far as worrying about the character of neighborhoods,
Suppose somebody buys 10 acres and puts in 20 of them.
who cares?
I guess I
You have
do.
enough
I guess I do.
separation, it's
Yeah.
not gonna knock down the value of your home,
And
and there are plenty of codes that are gonna make them comply with
Setbacks.
Safety.
safety, sewage, aesthetics,
coverage.
utilities, and so on. It's an elitist thing, and whether we like it or not, we may have, what do they call them, ADRs coming up, and those would be right to be a 400 square foot or a 500 square foot situation. I'm surprised that somebody would pursue this legally. That you're telling me that I can't live in a 400 square foot home. I can afford to build it and I can afford the lot.
And state code says it's fine.
Yeah.
and
You,
safe.
you could be faced with some kind of discrimination.
But we haven't been so far.
Okay. I just don't see the risk. Economics will preclude them putting them next to you or any of you folks in here. It's,
See, I would have loved in the development Uptown Landing if they had mixed in a few even smaller homes than that in the 900,000 square foot range. That area makes sense to me to have a mix. And if they were a little bit smaller, then their lots might have had given a little bit more green space. I wanted a tiny home community over there. I'm not at that point personally, but I would have appreciated the opportunity for them to see what they could create and devise for, a even more affordable home in that area. That's why I'm not quite where you guys are with the 0 or the 4, but I am definitely under 1,100 because I know how big, 1,100 is big. It's really big. I mean, I had 1,180 square foot, and that's why I keep saying it was a 2-story Victorian home in the city of Canandaigua, and it was, very large. It's I know it's tough to fathom when that seems like, oh, that's half my house, but that's a big house. And when we're talking about new builds, we don't have a lot of these 800, 900 square foot homes in town because they're not allowed to build here. So the only ones that are here are the ones that were here before we said you couldn't do that. So.
Well, technically, they are allowed to build if they got a variance, correct?
No,
They can't build.
well, they can, but just saying go get a variance doesn't mean that you're allowed to build it.
No, I agree. I would
So-
have to go through.
We don't want to push people to get variances.
Well, and also,
That's the biggest thing.
if I'm saying, okay, I could buy property in Bloomfield, Canandaigua, Victor, Naples. I'm gonna look at all the properties and I'm gonna look at what the cost of the value is of the land and the hookups. And then I'm gonna call the town and say, what can I build here? I'm really looking to do this affordably. And if they tell me, well, you gotta start at 1,100 square foot and the floor plan that I fall in love with is 950 square feet, I'm gonna check off the town of Canandaigua and go to the next community on the list. That's
But
what it
Also,
does.
with the
So-
variance thing, it's not like they're asking a variance for a setback. They could probably do something else if they didn't get their setback variance or their height variance. They could build it a little differently if they didn't get their height variance. But asking for a variance from the minimum square footage, I think for people seems like a big ask and it's too big of a risk. If they've already picked out their home, like you mentioned, it's, well, why would they go through that request when they don't even have a guarantee they're gonna be able to do it? They might just choose not to buy here. I don't know. It just seems like, and people, when they call and ask about stuff like this, they always wanna know, what's the likelihood? I'm like, I have no idea. I can't tell you that. All I can say is no one's done it since I've worked here, so.
What do the towns surrounding us have for minimum sizes?
I
Is
don't know.
anybody
Quite a few of them have
significantly
nothing.
less than 1,100?
Quite a few of them have nothing
Nothing at all.
because they let the market decide. I hate to say it, we're in a capitalistic country, and if I want to build a 200 square foot house, I don't want someone telling me I can't. I want to live there.
And it
I mean-
complies with whatever the state regulations
Correct.
are in terms of,
Now, I'm a little bit biased here. I'm the son of a mother who grew up in a single wide trailer with 6 siblings and 2 parents. All of them made it out just fine. So I'm a little bit biased in this, but the way I look at it, if we're not changing the zoning, you still have to say it's in the AR1. You still have to be on a 1 acre lot. You still have to have the setbacks.
But isn't that gonna be the next push?
No,
Change the lot size?
nope. I don't see
Why
why
do
you,
you know it's not?
well, first off, they have to come to the committee,
You know,
and I don't see that happening.
this came to the committee, so why couldn't that?
It could,
Well, because
and
Terry,
it's,
You
We have
can't say it
areas-
won't.
but we have areas in
Correct.
town that we want
Correct.
to encourage, we want to encourage development. And we have areas in towns that we want to discourage development, right? I don't have a problem with a smaller home than 1,100 square feet in the form-based code sub area. I think that's a great idea.
I don't either, but they chose not to do that. And the
Because
starter
it
homes
wasn't an
and,
option for them.
but the starter homes there are gonna be $300,000 or above.
okay, how about the finishing homes for the senior population that is growing in this community? And there are plenty of seniors that would love to live in a
It's the bookends.
500 or 800 or 700 square foot home that'd be perfectly suitable to that.
On an acre, it's an acre's
How about
minimum.
if there's.
No,
it's not in every
depends on
zoning
the
A
district.
developer
That's just
comes in and
the
wants to build a retirement community
From that existing
of
point.
700 square.
Well, they
feet.
kind of have that, it's called Pierce Brook, it's called Chatham Lane, it's, they already have it, what's the price is way up there?
Yes, but $400,000 and $500,000.
But they're not affordable.
But
No, that's true.
Chatham Lane's like 1,800, 1,900 square feet. Those are not that small.
I don't see the risk.
Yeah. they're not that
Economics
small.
will take care of most of those conversations. Okay.
I was just saying Chatham Lane's 1,900 square feet, those houses, and they have basements that are finishable as well if they want to.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, and that's another thing too, patio homes, if you're building 700 above ground, you've got another 700 below grade that you can also finish off as well, if that's something you want to do.
So I wanna build a
Probably
so I wanna build a 500 square foot house. What amount of land do I need to put that on?
Depends where you're
Depends on
What
the
talking.
zoning
zoning
district you're
Zone.
building it in.
That thing right behind Check over there.
No, I know. But that's my concern.
it could be on 2 acres, it could be on 1 acre, it
I
could be
mean-
on,
Lowering the minimum
That's-
square foot doesn't impact our zoning districts at all.
No, but if all of a sudden there's an influx of those requests, somebody is gonna bring to this committee,
So
we
what
need
if
to
they
change
do?
the zoning.
Okay, so this committee would discuss it.
Well,
And then the town
that-
board has the ultimate decision.
I'd say 800 square feet, that's where I'd be, that's.
I would be fine with
Anything more.
800.
So are you suggesting we increase the minimum requirement for a single wide trailer to 800? Right now it's 720.
Why can't they be different?
I'm just clear. I want
Yeah,
to know what
I
you
think
guys.
I say we don't
it's certainly
touch
a
the,
contradiction.
manufactured home
They're
or
both
the
homes.
Don't
Yeah,
touch,
Contradiction.
don't
Just
touch
leave it
the
alone.
manufactured home, leave it the way it is,
I-
except 20.
I would.
We're
I would
basically
really-
talking about single family homes.
Right.
Other than manufacturing. So leave the manufacturing
Yep.
thing out of it, I mean, it's.
So, but
I
I
would-
would make this overarching over both manufactured and stick built. That was up
We
my
can do
understanding.
whatever we want. It's-
When
the-
Murphy and I were trying to prepare something for you guys to discuss. My point of view was
That
across
worked.
the board minimum, allowing whether, no matter what type of home someone wants to bring or to build here or bring here or what have you, to give you guys something to start from. So we included everything, not
Which I think is-
just stick built.
I
Right,
Just
and I
only
think that's-
one section,
I
one
think-
letter,
And
one
I agree with
paragraph
that.
in the
I
whole
agree
thing.
with that.
I think we need to change it just for single families. I don't want to touch a 450 for a studio apartment or an 850 for a townhome. I want to do single families for now. That's
Well,
what I'm
if
looking at.
450 is
Well-
acceptable for a
Okay.
studio apartment, why not a standalone home? If they're both homes. They're both dwellings.
How can you say, I mean, a single family might want that condo, might want that. I mean, using the term single family, I think it's more of a manufactured home versus, that's what really started this whole discussion was a single family home on a lot someplace in this town.
So just real quick, I'm sorry to interject, but we can't delineate between stick built and manufactured. That's a big legal no-no. I'll
So just
speak
go
on
with one.
Chris's.
Let's just talk about
100%.
minimum house size.
Just
what we're
because,
talking
and
about.
I'm not speaking from legal, but I'm talking
Whatever.
from our code side that I cannot look at the two differently, aside from regulations, they have to be,
But they're
It's
different
different
now.
now.
they're not. The reason why
It's
we have.
1100 and 720.
Correct. The reason why we have a double wide requirement is because you single-handedly cannot get 1,100 square feet with a single wide. It's not possible. That's why that's in there.
So if we change
Okay.
to
Do you see what I'm
I
saying?
don't
800
agree
square
with that
feet,
comment.
Okay.
I could buy any size manufactured home I want. Just make it double wide or triple wide.
Yeah, that's why we have the double wide requirement on some manufactured homes.
So you're saying that a manufactured home can't be larger than a double wide?
No, it can be. What I'm saying is that right now our requirement says that you can only have a single wide within the manufactured home parks. The reason for that is because outside of the manufactured home parks, you're under that 1,100 square feet requirement. You can't do a single wide at 1,100 square feet. You have to go to a double wide. And
Okay.
that's why we have that
Well, then we
requirement.
make the double wide the same, whatever we decide for the single family.
That's the only point that I'm trying to make
Okay.
is that,
But we
They
can
would
leave
have
the
to
single
be
wide
altered.
at 720.
yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
So if we made the double wide, pick a
because,
number 850
yep,
and make single family dwellings 850.
because
And
if you
don't
leave
touch-
your double wides at 1,100, right, or whatever,
Yeah, it's 11 right now.
1,100, but yeah, you're allowed to build a single family stick built home at 850.
Oh, no, they should all be.
There's
it's
gonna
gotta
be
be
some,
universe, it's, yeah.
Just-
So is,
wanted to make that known.
so is 850 a number that people live with?
Yes.
I could.
There's definitely a lot of 850 homes out there in the area.
Terry,
Yeah, I'm against it, but I could live with it, see what happens.
I think it's important to have it as an option for there to be, like we're talking about, these bookend houses for starter and finisher homes, you know? And I think it's important to have it as an option with the cost of everything right now. Those $300,000 homes are like 1,600 square feet.
Right,
You know, like,
right.
It's insane. I built, my house is 1,800 square feet and that cost me 230 10 years ago, you know, I can't.
But
even
today would
imagine.
probably be 400,000.
Yes, which I
Right.
can't even imagine, so, but it's, it really gives at least a step forward to that option of people to be able to have the opportunity to build something that's a little bit, you know, more affordable for one, but also less of an impact on the environment around them. If 850 square feet is what they need, why are we having them build 1,100 square feet? You know, just so that they can build on the land that they own in our town.
So
I think 850, 800, 1,100, it's all arbitrary.
It is.
And I think for you or for us to sit here and just put an arbitrary number on it is not right. And I agree with Tom. I think we let the free enterprise system take care of itself. And if people want to build an 800-foot home or a 750-foot home, who are we to say it's got to be 850?
Or a 500 square foot.
Or
home.
500, that's, economics is going to take care of itself. So if a person buys an acre lots around here are pretty damn expensive.
Mhm.
The cost of entry to live into Canandaigua is pretty high in general. So I don't foresee a whole lot of homes coming in here or people wanting to build a 400 square foot home. But if there is an odd one, I say, who are we to tell that owner he can't put a 400-foot structure up on his 1 acre lot? That's his right. This is America.
Amen.
We buy what we want and we build what we want. And for us to sit here and arbitrarily put a cap on it, I think is wrong.
You put a cap on everything else.
We do, but many
So that's
times,
wrong too.
well, it's arbitrary. Yeah, I think it is arbitrary.
No,
It's
I think
elitist,
different
it's
things.
arbitrary, it's discriminatory, and it could probably be found to be unconstitutional.
But it hasn't
Cannot
been
tell
so far.
somebody
though.
how they can live.
But it hasn't been so far. No one sued us so far over lot size.
I'm just
sure
trying
it's
to-
not
Yeah,
But
it's
no
gonna
one's
take-
record is being elitist.
I'm trying, I agree with what a lot of you are saying. Okay, let's
What's
not
that
go
got to
there.
do with it?
Let's not go there, please.
No, I'm not.
Terry,
I enjoy
Honestly.
cars.
So I I agree with what a lot of us are saying. I'm trying to take a step so that we can get 3 of us to agree on a step down. And if that's something that we need to change moving forward, we can change it moving forward. But I think the first step towards what you're saying, John, is reducing. And I don't disagree with your point that the market will control it. And with your argument for that, I think that should happen in the town board meeting. I think in this group, we need to come up with whatever our number is that we wish to send up to the town board meeting. And we've discussed this 5 times in this group. I want to send something up to the town board, have that discussion there, vote it up or down, and we can argue for where we want to be in that. But I think we need to send something to the town board on this. So you can either send 0 or 800.
So what do you guys feel about it? I mean, if we went to 850,
They would like 0.
I agree with John and Tom. I think deciding on a number is just your own personal preferences. And are you comfortable saying what someone else should be allowed to build just because you don't think it's gonna look good? Because really, that's the only reason I'm hearing from you guys. And if that's your reason, that's your reason. But go forward with that. Claim it.
Oh, I claim it right away. I don't think it's the character of the town of Canandaigua to have tiny little homes everywhere.
But
So I do
lives
claim
here.
That's
that,
not gonna
but
happen.
I'm certainly willing to say, you know, I'm not the only one. To me, we have a system in place that if you want to build a 400 square foot house in Canandaigua, you could.
We've
We
already,
do.
we've already got zoning that takes care of the economics.
Mike, where are you on this?
I'm in favor of nothing. Everything in my professional, personal life tells me nothing because I have to look at it from a professional side that says, what are the negatives? There are no negatives. We can talk about the character and everything else, but I have to look at it, stormwater, floodplain, ecological, NRI, all of these other ones. There's no downside to this, but there's a downside to building a 5,000 square foot house on the lake shore. If I want to build a
And we
400
give
square
them all
foot house,
variances to do so.
can't
I
go
think
there.
that,
If I want to build a 400 square foot house on the lake shore, I should be able to. If I want to build a 200 square foot hunting cabin in the AR1 so I can go and hunt white-tailed deer, I should be able to.
But there is a process in place to do that.
That's not, we can't call that a process.
Yes, not.
Getting a variance, I can get a variance for an adult entertainment facility in the RLD, but we don't want that. So
Right.
that's not a
You're
process.
creating a disability.
We,
that
All right,
doesn't have
so
to
if we,
exist.
let's draw a poll the town board on this,
Just
okay?
one comment first.
Okay,
I just
sorry,
want to
Chris.
say that, talk about character. Character gives the residents a house a certain value. And you can make the argument, Dave has, that could diminish the character of a neighborhood, which then diminishes the value of somebody's home. And for that reason, I think character is an issue. I'm certainly willing to go to that 850 number or something like that and see what happens. So,
I would like to see it go through as 850 at this point because I'm comfortable with stepping this process. I agree with everything you're saying about the 0, but I want to make sure that this goes through. It's more important to me that we have this reduced than not there at all. So I think it's very important that we get this reduced. I want everybody to feel comfortable with where we're at. And if we find that we go to 0 in the future, we can go to 0 in the future, but I would like to see this. I like the 850. I have no idea where our supervisor is on this, but if Terry can agree to 850, I can agree to 850.
I'm kicking and screaming, agreeing to 850, but
And I don't know
will
if
agree to
John is a
850.
no on that in general, but
just the one comment you made at mine, you said, if we need to change it in the future. We won't know if we need to change it in the future. Because just like you illustrated prior, if someone makes a call and says, what size home can I build in Canandaigua? And we say 850 and they can check it off their list. We're never gonna hear that.
You chase them
So we
away.
don't know.
But,
I
but,
would
I mean,
like- You will know
I
because
think the
they're gonna
exception to
bring it
that
to
is the
us.
discussion we're having currently.
They
I
might
mean,
not ever get the question. Somebody's just gonna say to them, what size home can I build in Canandaigua?
But that exists today and we're changing it. So, I mean, I don't think you can say that we won't change it. I think we try to decide what's going on. I don't
I
hear
didn't say we
from
wouldn't change it. I said
anybody.
we wouldn't hear about it.
I think we could, if we were asking our planning department to keep track of that question, I mean, in general, the things that come to this committee is, this has been a problem again and again and again, so this comes to us as a problem, we need to reduce the transparency or whatever it might be. That's how things come to this committee, is that we hear from our employees that there's an issue.
But this didn't come to the committee that way, because we haven't
It
had
did.
those requests.
It did, and it also came
I-
from the.
I will
from the
say
Affordable
they are
Housing
not-
Committee, so.
all the time, every week or anything like this. There are a handful of times every year that someone wants to do this. So yes, it's an issue brought up by a few, but it's also what I'm hearing from top down, from planning
Yeah.
organizations, from regional groups, from real estate, saying be proactive. This is what communities should consider. So it's something that I feel like should be suggested to the committee, whether someone has asked for it or not, just from what we're hearing, what we're being told, what's being suggested from, you know, the conferences I go to.
And other
all the
communities.
Stuff like that. So I think it's both. No, this is not something that has come up as being a huge issue that people are, you know, pounding down our door every day, but,
Chuck, from a planning board perspective, is one of your considerations when you're reviewing new home builds, whether it fits into the character of the community?
Probably only in the RLD. Probably,
Only in the
yeah,
RLD.
so for sure, because you've got the shoreline guidelines and scenic view shed and all that, but if a guy's building something out in the farm country, it's
But
not a
we
big
really
issue.
don't have architectural review.
No,
That's your
No.
question.
So we use a lot more discretion than, you know, what's there.
So, I don't know if you all know, but I worked in the building industry for 24 years. And not just the building industry, I was the CFO, and my mantra was, I only want to build $1 million homes. And I got hooked on tiny homes as a result of the CEO of our company, because he got hooked on tiny homes. And it's a well-known timber frame company right here in Farmington. And as New Energy Works, they built homes under 800 square foot when people wanted them. And guess what? They still cost over $750,000. So the cost of the home is not directly related to the square footage of the home, as I'm sure most of you know. But what I'm hearing is that some of us prefer the town population to be the population it is, and we are not here to advocate for diversity. But I will tell you that diversity is what makes a really enticing, vibrant town, municipality, city, whatever. And believe me, the town of Canandaigua, not the city, the town would do well to have a more diverse population. And if I happen to agree with Tom and John about having no square footage size. I mean, who knows? I'm going to build a house. What do you mean you want a square footage size? I want a house. I want this is what I want in this house. You know, give people what they want, and they'll bring what they have to our town and make it more vibrant than it already is. That's all I can say about this. But the price of the house, the lakefront prices, you could build a 400 square foot house on the lake and it can still cost $1 million. I can attest to that.
Oh, it'd be more than $1 million. The land's
I'm not including the
800,000.
property, not including the property. I can attest to that.
So I guess it gets back to this, just a straw poll. Town board members, would you vote, raise your hand if you vote for 0. Raise your hand if you vote for 850.
Dave, I would ask that Tom and I are.
No, I just,
Oh, this committee.
no, I'm just trying to get a feel for it, and then I'm gonna ask the committee where we're going with it.
I would vote for both.
So, committee members, who would vote for 0, raise your hand. Committee members who would vote for 850, raise your hand. So we're gonna push on from ordinance that we're going to send to the town board, a recommendation of 800 square feet for both manufactured and stick-built homes.
Okay, so we'll probably have a similar conversation.
We will have a similar.
Do you want that, is that ready to go in September 26th, do you think? Or no?
If I could hear from Adler.
I will.
Because what's the, Friday is the deadline for the September
Yeah.
meeting.
I'd say, just because there's implications that are gonna go stretch through this,
Okay.
cover all the bases.
Okay,
So September's probably more October.
Just to make sure, because the
What,
last thing
so-
I want is for us to then find something buried in
That's true.
yes.
220 and we're like, oh, back we go.
Yeah,
So
So what
Surface
numbers
level,
would be
just-
changing? then?
That's what
The
I was trying to
1100?
look through. So for some of the stuff that's redlined in the draft for, that we gave you, it wouldn't be impacted. So like, for example, I was looking at chapter 220-20D, which is the multiple residence. It would not impact townhouses, it would not impact most of the apartments except for item number 5, where it says apartment unit 4 bedrooms.
What page
900
is that
square
on the,
feet.
in this?
There's not a page on it.
It doesn't say D anywhere.
Yeah, it does.
are you on the lowering minimum size or
Chapter
the
220-20 MR multiple residence district. Let's
Page
see.
211.
For example, if we're lowering it to 400 square feet, this is the draft I would edit, since we're not eliminating it.
excuse me,
It has the information about apartments and townhomes.
Mhm.
The townhomes would just be left as is with no change. And apartments would be, it would only impact 4-bedroom apartments. They could be smaller. The rest of them, I don't think would change, right? And then the section for, I'm going around. Item T, which is 220, this in 220-9, which is applicable to all districts. Section T is the one that talks about single family homes being 1100. That would just be switched to 850. But then, Mike, we probably would leave this piece alone in that case, because it's not going to impact the minimum size for single wides, which is the only reason we were gonna take that out, right?
that's kind of what I had to look at.
Mhm.
So, because that's a legal question that I need an Adler's opinion on, to say, if we're now limiting it to only a minimum of 850, well then can we legally say that you can't have a double? Or that you can't have single wide, excuse me. That's the legal.
Outside of
For pushing
the,
it.
While you're talking to Nadler, I would also prepare the 0 minimum, because I know where John is on that. I don't know where Jared is on that, and I will take both.
So we'll put this together. Will this be sent to us so we can actually see it?
sure.
I'm not writing it all down. because
No, especially since if we're saying that maybe October would be better, I can
Yeah.
we can change this draft. Maybe wait till Nadler checks it first and then send it out.
You could even bring it in, if that's okay, Dave, to the October ordinance too, so we get a quick
Well, yeah, because that's gonna
quick
be.
overview of
Yeah.
it before the town board meeting. If that is okay.
Yeah, I think that's.
Maybe not have the same this conversation on what we're comfortable with again, but at least on what it is and what's suggested, so we understand it fully.
And then that way, if we find anything else. then it's-
Exactly. But I
So
would,
the-
I would have both.
So the version proposing just to eliminate the minimum size, I guess would stay as is unless Chris told us there was something we
Something different,
forgot
yeah.
or missed out on, because we did this, we sat in the conference room and we just went through town code searching, using our search feature to try and find anything that does discuss minimum square footage, home size, et cetera, and search the numbers that we already know about, 720, 1100.
Mhm.
And we think we found everything, but
How would this change, proposed change affect ADUs, and where are they
So we,
presently allowed.
yes, so the town of Canandaigua does allow ADUs now, but they are allowed as an attached accessory apartment.
Just attached.
720 is the minimum size of those, so
Or 10%,
50%.
50. Okay,
Yeah, 720 is the minimum square footage, or 50% of the size of the primary home, whichever is less.
Yeah.
It cannot be detached.
Cannot be detached under current code. And it has to still have the appearance of a single family home from the outside.
What zoning districts can you have two dwellings on one lot?
Only as an accessory dwelling unit as an attached accessory apartment, but anywhere as far as I know. I
Except
think, I gotta check.
the farm labor housing is different, but
Well, yeah, so that's different. Farm labor housing is its own thing.
Its own animal, right?
Yeah.
RLD, you can't. I think is the only one that you can't do an accessory apartment.
Yeah, I don't actually know where it's restricted.
MR, the multi too, but
where's that?
multi-residential
Where is
somewhere.
All the little tiny
I have a
purple
really hard
ones.
time because I'm colorblind, so.
Oh my
So to ask me,
Yes.
Why do the red lines work for you?
Oh.
those I'm okay
Gray
with.
lines.
It's blues, so like
Yeah,
blues
blue,
and greens, and I'm
green.
like,
You
Yeah.
can't see the white.
no.
So our multiple residential are the purple.
Yeah,
So we've got them like quail bush,
okay.
hammocks.
So do we kind of add that when somebody has a PUD or something? Is that what we usually do with the multiple residents?
Oh, like Gulf Beach Shores and whatever those other ones are called, East Windway,
Okay.
some of our apartment communities. I think just from
Townhome
looking
type
at this
thing.
map, they
Got it.
probably requested to rezone so
Yeah.
they could build them.
Right.
It's not like
So-
it's planned out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're
Or they
just kind of
predate.
here, or yeah, it's
Like the
possible that
areas
they
on North
predated.
Road are gonna predate.
Got it.
A lot of them are probably gonna predate.
Yeah, it kind of looks like they're just. Okay, so. I think I know how to change the draft. We'll check with Chris Nadler. We will prepare that. I'll see if I can get him to give that to us ahead of October ordinance committee meeting.
Well, and I want to thank you guys for being willing to do anything on this, because it's something that's bugged me since I got on the town board, so I'm glad for any movement at all on this.
I remember when Eric Cooper was bringing this up when he first became town planner.
Yep.
So it's been a while.
Well, it does sound like we're adjusting it at the bare minimum, which I think is great.
All right, so we'll get that copy from Chris. So last but certainly not least is form-based code, and in particular car dealerships is coming to light.
Now, are we only talking about the 332 sub area, or are we also talking about the other sub area right now? Because I think we need to discuss them separately. They're very different.
I think that, I was thinking the 332 area,
Okay.
sub area.
So is it transparency that's the main issue, or what's the primary issue with it that you guys are saying?
I think it depends on the applicant.
Yeah.
Okay, because here's my thing. Some of the stuff that's come up, I'm like, there's a reason that we put it that way, right? It's simple for them to add pedestrian walkways through their parking lot. It's relatively simple for them to be able to put some parking to the side or the back. It's impossible for them to move their building or to, make massive changes in that way. That's a lot to ask of anybody. But when there's an expansion of something, I think some of the things that are in there for a very good reason. And it's just cheaper for them not to put landscaping or pedestrian pathways or what have you in their parking lots. So
Is that their issue, the car dealers? They don't want to put in landscaping berms or tree berms or?
some of them that I've seen.
I think the car dealers are gonna ask for anything they can ask for and see what they can get.
Right.
Obviously, yeah, they're in the business to sell cars. So if they want to build a new parking lot, they don't want to put anything on it. They just want a big black sheet of blacktop and put cars on it, as many as they can have. So they're gonna ask for the sun and the moon and see what the zoning board gives them.
I
That's the
think,
business model.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
You can't find one that isn't like that.
yeah. But form-based code wasn't designed with car dealers in mind. It was just designed as
But
form-based code.
the 332 corridor is pretty much all car dealers.
Yeah, well, I'm not here to
So,
argue about
yeah.
car dealerships. I'm just saying
No, I'm just saying it's kind of a conflict.
It's
it
yeah,
was
we're.
intended to
we're-
be a conflict.
Yeah, it
Remember when the form-based code was designed? It's because everybody in the room agreed that the car dealerships are ugly and they need to change, either to meet what the vision of the town decided that their vision was, or encourage something else to come in their place. I mean, that's some of the conversation that we all had, that you guys all had when this went through the first time.
Yeah, but now we're finding the pitfalls in
The nuances,
form-based code.
right,
And I think there definitely are those, but as far as the car dealerships, the best example of the pushback that you're always gonna get. My office has been dealing with cars parked on grass since the day I started.
Yeah.
That code was
They're
adopted
not
in
good
two thousand and two. And every single week I have to send out Kyle, myself, or Sam to go around and say, please move the cars. And every single time they laugh and say, oh yeah, we'll put it back out in an hour. Okay, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
They don't
that's
care.
been-
They don't care.
That's been a long.
They're gonna push against the code
It's forever.
and
I think we have to get tough.
Yeah.
And if they wanna move, you know
So-
damn well they won't move.
there are some things like transparency, I think could be lowered, not eliminated, but certainly in the sub area.
And it's not,
Definitely can be
and that's one
lowered.
of the things the car dealerships are now
Um,
asking for, because they have a bunch of glass on the front of
Yep.
their buildings, so they don't care.
Right.
There's
Yeah, it's
little
other,
nuanced things that we
structures.
found. We just found one. You can't have tenant identification signs on the buildings.
yeah, that one, I
Okay.
don't understand.
We need to go through and fix that. There's items like that that we really need to
There
go
was a big
through.
conversation about that in the form-based code development. I remember that, because that one I didn't understand. It had to be
I don't-
explained to me by.
I
the
couldn't
buyer.
remember that conversation. 'Cause
Yeah.
So for
Remember when I
example,
talked about it do we just want it on the big side, or do we want it on the individual building, so. that
yeah,
was-
so one example right now we have is Vision Commons, that one, they had the barbecue place was in there for a
Yes.
while. There's a wax place in there.
right.
They have a sign out by the road that says Vision Commons, but it's little, it's not a multi-tenant sign, it's just a. So we have someone who just moved in, I can't remember the name of the business,
You and Me Boutique.
okay, and they wanna put up a sign, and we're trying to find, where to fit it in with what to look at for
I got no
form-based
problem
code.
with that. I never did. That was one of the ones that I was like,
And they-
this doesn't make sense.
They're
to
only
me.
allowed one wall sign
Yeah.
per facade, and the facade is the front of the building, and there's no accommodation in the code for individual tenant signs. Splitting up the facade per tenant. And we went back and forth, we looked through it. I did reach out to Bergman, and I'm supposed to be on a phone call with them at some point to try and have them help me remember
So this
what,
tenant wants a sign out
just
by
want-
the road,
On
no,
the building.
they want a facade sign,
the tenant, yeah, the property owner's not proposing to put in a new sign
whatever
that
sign,
had, that
right,
would,
yeah.
like the
and-
ones out in front of Michael's, right?
Right.
That would be allowed,
Yeah.
by right, in form-based code.
Yeah.
They just wanna put up their own sign, which has always,
And they've been
was
doing like
allowed.
banners, haven't they? Like some of, a lot of them just put up like temporary banners. Which is really.
so that's
silly.
something I would like to see changed in the form-based, because I'm not here to say form-based code is perfect, it's not.
So,
I wanna see that changed.
I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
And there's other areas that can be improved. I mean, we had one developer that came in. They couldn't make the landscaping work because they required stormwater facilities.
Yeah.
So that takes up a huge chunk of your lot space and then you're stuck trying to gamble. Well, we can't get a variance from a SWIP and DEC, so we'll just go for the landscaping. Adding some sort of avenue in there for that.
I think another one that, has come up is material requirements.
Yeah, those
What?
were a little,
Material,
those were a
So-
little.
this
Intense.
goes to the look and feel, right? So
And, yeah.
form-based code
Mhm.
typically, wherever it's applied here or other communities around the country, the goal is of the look and feel. So there's often material requirements for what what kind of siding. Sometimes it even goes so far as to limit
Stone,
colors and stuff like
vinyl,
that.
Yeah, all that.
And what is it that, it's metal that wasn't
Yeah.
allowed, and one of the car dealerships was working on like a facelift, basically, and there was a question on one of the items they were proposing to use, and it was metal. So
Like a metal cladding would not be.
I think if I remember
it
the
was-
conversation, the group, I say we, because a lot of us were in these conversations, and not me, I don't really get to say, but not like, no one wanted corrugated steel, right? No one
Yeah.
wanted that look. It looks really industrial and not the look that everybody wanted in form-based code. So instead of just prohibiting that, I guess it went to all metal, but metal can be made to look really nice. It's not all corrugated
That was the
steel.
problem with the creation of the form-based code, is you had a consultant informing us of this is what different things could look like. But the people in the room are citizens of the town who go, oh yeah, that looks nice, you know, and it wasn't really people with a development experience. We weren't builders, we weren't knowledgeable about, you know, what people would generally be wanting to use. And so it was, I think a lot of those things were a lot more prescriptive of what was allowed than really should have been. It's, I mean, yes, we want to look there, but it's more important to have the road breaks, to have, you know, than it is to have, I mean, vinyl siding. It's
Can
just-
materials look at planning? I mean, would,
So-
I mean, if,
That's
would-
not really what the planning board
Yeah.
does.
so who does that?
Typically, nobody.
Zoning.
Like now underneath current,
Yes.
it'd be an administrative.
So you
Well,
would
with
say,
on my
form-based
side.
code, we
Yeah.
look at it, you know, while they're filling out the application. In other zoning districts, there's no rules about what you side your house with.
Yeah.
The only rules there to come into play is if it's those with building.
but form-based code, we are eliminating opportunities.
Form-based code is form-based.
No, I
You know,
understand
so
that, but,
it's
but
different.
you've just given an example of how somebody needs to look at it, because corrugated metal is much different than a fancy cladded metal building.
Exactly. That's my
So-
point. I
so
think that should be
How do we make
changed.
those adjustments?
Change it.
So change to what? Whose discretion is that gonna be? I mean, it has to be someone's discretion. You have to say, hey, that looks good, or hey, that doesn't look good, and then it's whose opinion?
We can-
Not to me. it's
We
up to
can hire a consultant, we can start another committee on it again.
Or you can
So-
remove that
do it
section.
here and
and
Like,
they can-
I think the perfect
do it
example
whatever.
is the vision. Hyundai, Kia, there's one more.
Can't keep track.
They have the metal facade.
Right.
That to me looks perfectly fine,
It does,
right?
I
Like,
agree with you.
so that's where we're going with it is, okay, let's not restrict it as much. You know, yes, you could go through and say not corrugated. That can be called out specifically, not corrugated metal.
Well,
That's a type.
is there a change? Pre-existing, we're not gonna make them change anything that
No.
pre-exists,
No.
right?
Right.
Well, so
Why
unless
did this
they-
arise then?
It's if they have what?
Major
50%
There's a
improvements.
change?
threshold, there's multiple thresholds, I don't have it right in front of me right now, but, up to 50% of the square foot of the facade can be changed. And I don't think they have to come into compliance with as much, but if they go over that 50% of
It all
the square
kicks in.
footage of the facade, then that triggers coming into compliance with
Performance. A
most,
number
you
of
know,
things, right.
yeah, they have like which things you have to comply with at different thresholds.
Which frankly, I think that's the first thing we should do, is maybe reduce that threshold.
Or make it bigger.
Oh,
So
well,
that
yeah,
they can.
whatever
do
it is, so
More
they-
More
without
without
more
trying to
without
come into
triggering
compliance,
it.
right?
Yeah, I mean, that,
We've got
Look at that.
one application that's gonna require a variance. A new development going in form-based code, and this is what they're
the car
proposing.
dealership.
Yeah, they're proposing exactly what it is. It looks fine. And my department, we laugh because you're allowed wood clapboard, which I wouldn't be able to tell you could put in there. So like stuff like that,
Mhm.
that correct, a builder, an architect, his code enforcement officer wasn't brought in, and then we really want to have our own opinions put in here.
Yeah, so
Well, that's what I'm
So-
trying to bring in now. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's I mean, if there's a way that you can indicate to us what's crap, like what finishes we don't want there. And, because that's really what it's about. I
But,
mean,
but I agree with you, but who decides that? I mean, now, I just asked that question,
we
no
do.
one, who's we?
We,
this ordinance committee
No,
will
no,
send it
I
out to town.
I understand that, but
Any
you can't
adjustments?
eliminate things item by item. Somewhere there has to be something like the planning board that says, this is the facade we want to put on this, and is this appropriate or not? And you have more than you or me that looking at that.
I think currently it lists a few no-goes.
No,
And
No, it
it
only
lists
it lists
approved.
got it.
allowed materials. So
Five
they look at it
materials.
from what you're allowed to do rather than what you.
Can't do, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to adjust that, we could either make it no-goes or add to the allowed or
Yeah,
just
you
take it
could-
away.
You could add to the allowed, yeah, you could just remove that section entirely so that there isn't a materials requirement. Or you could just,
But then how do we get, I mean, if form-based code is a look that we're trying to achieve, someone has to oversee that look, right? Don't you think?
I guess I don't know what you're asking.
Well, I'm asking, we have Vision who's got metal cladding on their building and it looks great, everyone agrees, and then someone else doesn't want corrugated metal, that's metal cladding. So who decides what it's gonna look like?
In my office, we're gonna read the code, and if it meets it, it meets it. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
But see, that's what I'm saying is, when you specifically call out no-goes or goes, then you eliminate all this other material that it's constantly evolving.
Yeah,
So I don't really wanna do that. I don't wanna do that, I guess.
Is there an easy fix? In form-based code, we say what materials are allowed.
yeah,
Why don't we say these materials are allowed or look like these materials? In other words, if
I'm
you
not
can make
reviewing
steel
that.
look like metal or looks like stone, which they can. And they can make it look like brick, they can make it look like wood, right? You can stamp metal any way you want to. I think the intent was shiny steel or aluminum, probably.
probably.
Something to not look industrial, that's
Right,
kind of what
right.
I'm thinking, but
So-
who decides that? That's what I'm saying, I mean,
This
right,
There's gotta be an easy fix somehow.
This group, I mean, unless we wanna hire a consultant again or start another committee again, it's this group. that
I
decides.
don't wanna do that, I think we can come to some agreement on this, but.
We can
I mean,
create a
I would love to
little
have
home
somebody
like
like the planning board review it, this is
Yeah,
the material we're
and I
looking
guess
at.
we haven't seen that many cases of form-based come through the planning board yet, so I mean, we're kind
still
of
new enough.
naive to, some of the issues. Obviously, the staff planning department are the ones that are getting it day in and day out as far as questions, not every day, but you're seeing, today, you talked about some of the problems that developed through your reviews.
Yes,
maybe if-
signs is one of the things we get hit with a lot
Mhm.
that I think.
Landscape.
we
So
talked
maybe
about,
what this
but-
committee can ask for is, I know the ZBA's got issues, because, Dave was in here last month. What issues are you having with the form-based code? Okay, whether it's development office, planning board, ZBA, get that information back to us as an ordinance committee, and then we can
Act
discern.
on it from there.
Well, I
Yeah,
think we
discern
know
what's in it.
it's landscapings, it's signs, and it's materials. I mean, that's what you guys just identified to us.
I'd
And
add-
transparency.
I'd add one more, and it's a big one, and don't shoot the messenger, but it's process. Form-based code is meant to be quick. Our process is
Not quick.
not
Yeah.
Yeah,
quick
it
by
is- it
any
is
means
cumbersome.
necessary. I mean, it's
And
substantially longer than
It
if
is
I wanted to
difficult.
build a high rise in the lake shore.
So how do we change that, I guess
So-
is my question, I
So-
mean,
one of the reasons it's
Somebody's gonna make
difficult
suggestions.
is, so form-based code can be developed in a way that makes it, the process, as far as approvals go, very simple. You meet the code, go build it. You don't need to go to the town board, and you might need site plan with the planning board, but,
Mhm.
but none of those, like,
Assuming you have no
particular
variances.
items are really looked at, is, planning board would look at the stuff you look at for anyone, look at their stormwater, stuff like that, but design, they wouldn't even look at it. But when our form-based code was developed here, there were some concerns that because it was so new, we weren't really sure what that would look like until projects started coming in. The town board wanted to at least be part of the review process for new developments. So that was added in. Typically, that's not done in form-based code, just like any other development we have in the town.
So
Like, if
that's
someone
the
wants to
main-
come and put in a new neighborhood, it's probably never gonna go to the town board. It's just done through planning board, but.
That's the process right over?
Yeah, for instance,
That's one of
so
them, so
like a
like a
PUD
car
or a-
dealership that's coming through, new developments over
5,000
5,000
square.
square feet are gonna have to get
town, they go
looked
to,
at by the town board, it's not an approval, it's just they have to go, the town board can see it, weigh in if they want, make comments before it goes to the planning board. There's also an additional sketch
No,
requirement.
so it goes
I'm saying it out of order.
PRC, yeah, you're good. So it goes to development, then to PRC, then sketch plan to planning board. Planning board makes a recommendation, then it goes sketch plan to town board approves, sends it back to planning board for site
Site
plan
plan.
approval, then it goes back to development office for final approval. And if you get
The
ZBA
only
in there,
difference in there is the
Throws it off.
town board.
Town
Everything
board,
else is
and
what
then-
normally happens.
Well,
correct?
no, there's the sketch requirement that
sketch.
isn't always required
Mhm.
in other types of
It's
development.
usually a prerogative of the applicant. whether
Yeah,
They
an
want to file a
applicant
sketch
can
plan.
request a sketch
Mhm.
plan with the planning board if they're not sure and they
And-
want to get feedback first before they
It's
go in
valuable.
for full site plan, which, yeah, it's not a bad idea,
Mhm.
but it's not required. With form-based code, it is for these new developments or developments that are changing more than 5,000 square feet.
and then
Smaller
even if
ones
it's,
don't require as many
yeah, if
steps.
it's less, then you still have to do sketch plan to planning board and then site plan to planning board. So you're still doubling up. I mean, if you want to build a house in AR1, you go to planning board once. If you want to build a house in form-based code, well, you got to go to sketch plan and then planning board. So you're going twice,
Well, let's get
So that's
that.
2 or 3 months is what you're saying.
longer.
The sketch plan doesn't matter.
2 or 3
I
months
think.
is
I mean,
outside. That's what we
unless-
generally tell
Again,
people.
leave it
This,
to
you're
the
talking
discretion
6
of
to
the
7.
applicant. It is valuable to bring a sketch plan in.
No.
Tom agrees that,
No.
I will
We've
say a
been
couple.
accused of that by many people, that
Yes.
Yeah,
the town is not business friendly.
yeah,
Listening to this conversation, we absolutely are not.
I think it could.
We're
be
trying to
improved.
discourage business,
This is the
not
area. you wanna
encourage
go.
business.
Yeah.
The
There
car
are-
dealerships contribute a lot of sales tax money.
Mhm.
We very eagerly take that money from them. So, you know, they have a business model they follow. Let them follow their business model. I mean, I've heard a lot of comments in here today about what the free market decide. Well, this is
The free market.
the opposite way.
Yeah.
We're gonna decide, not the free market.
I think you
I
can find
just
a
wonder how
balance.
form-based code.
You raise a great point, Terry, and I have to ask the basic question. Why do we need form-based code?
Yeah, the whole
That
point was
was
to make it easier
the
and it's obviously
way
not doing that.
Yeah,
So
well,
So then that
no,
being said,
it
that being
wasn't.
the case,
I
then
don't think the whole point of the form-based code was to make development easier. The form-based code, the whole point was when you go back, way back to the placemaking study for Uptown and the desire of the people who make decisions that it not look the way it looks today, just a big giant highway with parking lots all up and down in that section of town. It doesn't look good. It was agreed that that is not the look that everybody wanted. Form-based code was thrown out as a way to fix that. It's not the only way. You don't have to use form-based code, but I think it was the way to get the whole package deal instead of changing. I mean, you could have gone in, another way might have been just to change the CC, the Community Commercial Zoning District, which is what it was on 332. You know, not have the setbacks be whatever it was, 150 feet back, I think. You
Yep.
couldn't build a building closer to the road than 150 feet, so by design, it was all parking lots in the front. So there were other ways to do it. I think it was just that form-based code was a good way to tackle all of it, to kind of go for, you know, more of a downtown look in the uptown.
it's just too restrictive right now, I think.
that's the
We're all agreed on
feedback
that.
we got from the developers at the LDC meeting.
And I think an easy way of solving that would be the compliance thresholds.
Mhm.
That takes care of your current pre-existing nonconformities while still for your new developments transitioning into it.
And we have a
I
brand
have
new
a-
car dealership proposing to come in on the corner where the old Enterprise
Yes,
used to
Right.
be.
right on whatever that is to the school.
Airline, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think-
Airport-
on the
airport
road,
corner,
right.
yeah, and their proposal, for the most part, meets form-based code.
They're putting the
Well, good for them,
dealership
but that-
at the road.
You
Yeah.
get, you know, what's there is there. They're not moving.
But we can't change
They're
what's
gonna
there.
stay there.
Right.
So whether you like it or not, it's there and it's gonna be there.
Mhm.
So this whole argument is really, to me, kind of hollow. I mean,
I
we
agree.
take their money very, you know.
All
I
I'm
agree.
trying
no
to say
problem
is that
doing that.
I
That's-
think that, I mean, town board decided they wanted form-based code and adopted it. If the
Yeah,
town board
did.
doesn't want it anymore, then you gotta decide what you do want in order to help whoever ends up doing it draft the changes that you want, but you gotta decide what you want first
Absolutely right.
before. I mean, we can take apart the pieces that are easy that we see that we can find what we think might be easy fixes. But the bigger question is, what do you want it to look like? Because that's how we're gonna understand what in the form-based code you wanna change, or if the town board wants to completely get rid of it, what do you wanna go back to, or what do you want to change? I mean, you gotta
Maybe
understand
we're
what you
going
want.
forward. You know what
I
I
think-
mean? We might be going forward to something, so.
We have to take an incremental approach to it, same way you're proposing with, minimum lot
footage,
size,
right.
you know, we agreed to take it to 850, so let's fix those things that are glaringly obvious, like not being able to advertise your business on a chunk of, little plaza that you're actually paying rent on. I mean, that's crazy, so
Yeah.
those things are easy fixing. Fix all that stuff, what's next?
But the bigger
Okay.
fix, Terry, I think is, we're not even friendly to anyone. We're just listening to everyone saying it. We're 6 or 7 months downstream.
Well,
get
that, I
anything.
think that is also another easy fix, to not require that sketch plan and to not require that town
It's
board.
not an
review.
easy fix. I can tell you from personal experience, it's not an easy fix.
To not require something is not an easy
No,
fix. so no.
to address this whole customer friendly process. I mean, I can't, I don't want to say much here at this meeting right now. I just, maybe in another meeting, I'll be able to speak more freely, but right now I just don't want to say anything that might influence the process.
One suggestion, and again, I'm not brought it up at our last meeting. What would be the downside of redrawing the boundary of form-based code to exclude the car dealers? Just make,
It's not just the car dealers though. I mean, why nobody's answered my question, which was, why do we need form-based code? We've got 80% of that road, maybe more, already developed. We have shopping plazas, mini shopping plazas that have parking in front. We have restaurants that have parking in front. We have gas stations up and down the road. We have car dealerships up and down the road. There aren't that many vacant parcels of land that are gonna be developed on 332 that aren't already developed. So what is the purpose of the form-based code?
it was to fill the out parcels.
There aren't that many.
The dream was to have a residential community on the northeast part of Uptown.
Well, that's called the mixed-use development, and that is identified independently from the 332 corridor.
Right.
And that was the
But
question that started this conversation, and I think it was Adeline or Dave that mentioned it, and they said, do we want to change both? Or do we want to change just one? And it is identified in the form-based code as being two.
That's
The mixed-use development, which is outside of 332 corridor, and the 332 corridor. So talking about the 332 corridor just for a second, because that's where we said we're gonna focus. Why do we need form-based code?
So the committee started it, and I would do better if I had it in front of me. Basically, under the thought process, and I don't want to speak for the whole committee, of as things change, when people are coming and bringing changes that they want to have happen to these properties, to try to build smaller block sizes to encourage walkability in the area. So, for example, I give the example of, I was having my car repaired at the old Farnsworth, wanted to cross the street to look at a new car at whatever Ontario Mazda is called now. And to do that, I have to walk all the way up almost to Ray's to cross the street and get over across the street. So it was an extra mile of walking, for example. So if we want to encourage the residential development in the areas surrounding this, it was to reduce block sizes when something's being worked on. So for example, I think of the former Farnsworth, which is what's the collision
RF
place?
collision.
RF collision. If that's a huge undeveloped piece right now. So if that were to develop, I would love to see the road that's proposed, that was approved to go in there, have that be a smaller area and encourage that property to be developed with something closer to the road that makes it a more walkable community with parking on the side and in the rear. It wasn't to say, you know, we were trying to encourage when an existing property had the money to do an upgrade or a change that was extremely significant, to encourage them as much as possible to fulfill more of this look and transition that we were getting, that we were encouraging. It wasn't to somehow destroy their businesses for them. It was when a very large change was happening. So I think that's the biggest problem about this. I think we have that level set too low, or whatever it is, high, low, whatever it is. The bar to change needs to be, they need to be making a more significant change, like really rethinking an entire business model. And when that's happening, that's when this, you know, if they're rebuilding the building, for example, if you know, the Farnsworth, if Garber decided when they sold it that they wanted to rebuild the entire building, I would want them to meet with our suggested form-based code, as opposed to if they want to fix their facade and move some cars around. That's a different situation.
So what you're telling me, and what I just heard there, was that it's your vision of what you want Farnsworth
No, it's the
auto
committee.
collision,
It was
or the committees.
25
right?
people that worked on this together with,
And what you just said, you didn't have any developers in the room, you didn't have any
we
builders in the
did,
room.
we had 40
And-
developers at a meeting about this. It's the highest turnout we've had for any time that we reached out to folks on it.
Usually people come because they're not all in favor of it, but
And I think Randy was on.
Randy was on.
Randy,
he was
It
involved.
just-
we had members of merchants up there. There were, but I think.
But I
they
think
were-
we're all dancing around this. Why do we have form-based code? I
That's
mean,
my question.
The reason we have form-based code is because coming into our city right now is a weird amalgamation of ugliness. We were trying to make it a more
So
walkable
no,
community,
no, I-
encourage a walkable community.
I understand that, and I agree with that, but what role does form-based code play in that? Why can't our regular planning?
Because our regular planning says you can build car dealerships here, you can build commercial here, you can build this there. Form-based code says, if you want to build an office and an apartment complex, as long as it looks like this, that's fine with us. So, and
So why
that's
can't,
kind of the modern way of doing
but we
code.
have form-based code, but it drags its feet. I mean,
It needs to be fixed. There's
Right,
some problems with it.
and
for sure.
I agree with John, is I don't wanna tell a business how to run their business.
I agree.
If they come to us and say, this is what I wanna put there, and if they meet these criteria for form-based code, they put it there, why can't it just be without form-based code? Why do we
You
need
have to have a
form-based code to do
zoning
that?
district.
Pardon me?
You have to have a zoning district.
Okay, so we have, I mean, what was before form-based code?
Community commercial, sorry.
So, why,
Go
what was
back to
wrong with
that.
that?
Setbacks,
and-
150 feet.
So
from
we
the
can
road.
change that though, right, without form-based code,
right, change
Yeah.
it, just change that if we needed to. Or
Right, I
go
mean,
through it and
I-
just
I don't-
identify what needs to be modified.
I would like to be more
Car
business friendly at
dealers.
the end of the day.
That's
I
what,
think when we were going through this whole thing, I have the feeling that we were sold something. That,
Yeah.
you know, to your point about as things change. Well, unless these car dealerships just go totally belly up, that's gonna be there forever. It isn't gonna change. John's point, there are very few parcels left out there. It's true. It's, what's there is there. Most people think that's part of the city anyway. So you talked about the entry to the town of Canandaigua. It's the entry if you're going north, but it's the exit if you're going south. It's not the entry to me to our town. What's there is there. We should not bend over backwards for these guys, for anybody. You should have rules that have to be followed, but they should be reasonable, and it's just, I think it's getting to the point where it's, in my mind, a question whether this form-based code is really that valuable. In the sub area, what are we talking about doing there? The bulk of the sub area, we're talking about using the center zoning to make.
We're gonna change it, we're gonna not use form-based code, right, right,
I mean,
right.
And
Come
to add to that, form-based code is generally used in new communities. Not ones that are already 80% developed.
well, again, to your point, the mixed use sub area surrounding it is not developed. That is a new area at this point. So-
Well,
Yeah,
to
but
Jerry's
This
point,
whole
though,
thing started with, we're talking about.
332, right, yeah.
332.
I did forget one thing. We did have them, did have the mixed use overlay in there too, which was the first attempt at making that part of the town more flexible for builders, because remember the zoning districts we have in place can't have two different uses on one lot. And the funny thing about the mixed use overlay was it was supposed to help that, but it still didn't allow two uses on one lot. You had to subdivide if you wanted to do two different uses, subdivide, make two lots.
Maybe we should have fixed that.
Form-based code allows you to do whatever you
Trying to
want,
fix something and
unless
create
it's one of the
more problems.
prohibited, like, no
Activities.
adult
Well,
Right,
use.
you're right,
Yeah,
right,
that-
right.
That
So
was
you
kind of the whole
could,
point of it.
that was one of the things is with that type of a zoning district, you can, we don't care, what you're doing.
Which
So
is
it does
really-
allow more flexibility
that's-
and you don't have to build, 150
Yeah.
feet back from the road, you can build 5 feet from it, so,
And that's parcel by parcel. That'd be all.
yes.
No, she's talking
So-
about the form-based code. So like a very modern way of living
Mixed
right
use.
now is if you had, an office below or above an apartment type of situation.
Yeah,
and
so
that's
our zoning
that
does
is
not
allowed
allow
now.
that, form-based code does.
Form-based code did.
But
And
it
that
only doesn't
is-
allow it because we don't allow it. You know what I mean? Why can't we allow it?
But using the MUO, you could have
No,
No,
modified it with the MUO,
I
with
mean,
parcel by parcel.
it was
Here's why I
parcel
want to
by
have business
parcel.
here and apartments here.
But they
So-
had to go through the MUO process.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the ideas, is why make them do that, just
Exactly.
allow it.
But it
And now
sounds
you
like
have
we're
to go
making them go
through
through
the-
this process that's 6 or 7 months long.
Well, so
Wow.
fix the
so
process.
fix the process.
I'm not arguing with that or eliminate the process and make a better process.
Yeah,
I mean, those are the options as I see it. I mean, I think John's point is there 20% of that that's still developable, that we have any say over anyway?
Why don't we bring, it was Labella that did it? Was it Labella or
It was
whatever
Irvine.
it's called now?
no
The
Colliers.
Colliers. So why don't we bring in Colliers to talk about this with us? Because they're the
We
people who
did.
paid for this.
Yeah, we had
January.
that joint meeting.
They were here, right?
Well, yeah, that one, but
Well, at the
I,
very least, you could, these
There is
fixes that you guys have described, like with signage and those kinds of things, and
Yeah,
we can work
The
on
low
that.
hanging fruit, right?
to get
Yeah, we have to fix the things that
The little things.
you guys are getting beat up
We,
with.
we
Why
got a
don't we
list
just-
we're starting.
let's start with
Why don't
that.
we distribute the form-based code to everyone first off, so everybody has it fresh in their mind?
We all have a
We all
copy
have
of it. It's
a
a
copy of
giant
it.
full, it's a
Yeah.
giant full 3-ring binder,
Yeah.
gigantic 3-ring binder.
Okay. Secondly, why don't we,
Probably don't have.
I probably don't have that, yeah, and I'd appreciate it if I could get a copy of that, but
You want it printed?
yes, please.
Doug sent that out.
Yeah, we all got that.
And I don't know if I still
It's
have
in
it,
your
but anyways,
Uptown
if you
binder.
can
Take down a
make a
couple
new
of
copy
trees.
for me, I'd appreciate it. Secondly, why don't we distribute the old, what did you call it, commercial district zoning?
See,
That's
Why don't we do-
commercial?
Why don't we distribute that to everybody so that they can review it and then come back and maybe if we just make some modifications to the old commercial zoning,
It's
maybe
mixed
that'll
use overlay
suffice.
too,
Pardon me?
the mixed use overlay also.
We didn't have that on the 332 corridor though,
Yeah.
did we?
Yes,
Yes,
so
we did.
it's not on here anymore because it's been changed, but this, for those of you who can, I'm sorry if you can't. But there's this dark hashed overlay that is available or was available in this whole area. Now it's not for the form-based code, but it was there before that someone had to ask to be a part of. It was here, here, and here. If
That's
they
what we
wanted
had.
to change to that.
We've had that happen numerous times.
Yeah,
For example, with the.
so it
development.
was available for, oh, this
No.
pale blue is where the community
Yes, you have.
commercial is now. It used to go all the way down. So that was the underlying zoning district. The hashed areas were the overlay district, which could be applied through rezoning if they wanted to.
Like we did with the one by Eagle Gymnastics, that
Yeah.
facility
Yeah,
applied
the-
to be part of the end well.
Yeah.
So,
the soccer fields.
soccer fields.
It's another material.
His phone is building permits.
Yeah, they're working on it.
Yeah.
He's not doing it anymore.
No, he
They
is,
are.
he
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah,
It's just-
On a smaller scale.
For the first building. He's realized now that he wants to go back for the second one.
I personally would like to see us just figure out what are the current issues with it and see if making changes to that would help. Because I think that the values that are explained in the form-based code, I mean, read it again and see if it makes sense to you, but
So,
we're
So-
trying to create a walkable community that's gonna work for all these people moving into Uptown Landing to be able to walk to Tops, to be able to walk to all these services that they would have access to.
Yeah, but Adeline, what you just described, when you had your hard time walking, had nothing to do with form-based code. It has to do with how the streets are organized and how those crosswalks are organized.
And how many times that there's an opportunity for a block break, right? And where the buildings are, right? It does not create, I mean, Dave, you know, when we walk down there, it's not a walkable, you don't feel safe walking on 332, even when you have a sidewalk.
I don't know if it's safe or not. I
And
don't
that's,
agree with
some of that
that.
is addressed by the landscaping and everything else that we're talking about adding in that area. And some
But
of them-
I think we're talking about a couple different things here.
We- a
To-
million
to-
different
To
things.
cross 332 is something that form-based code is never gonna change, so
Right.
that we're
That's
not
my
gonna be able to do
point.
anything with
Yeah.
that, right? So what we wanna do is as things come up, do we change them? Yes, but does form-based code do that? It doesn't sound like it does to me. I don't know, I don't know if it's still useful or not. I think, my opinion, we have to go back to square one and look at that, and we had to hear from you guys and say, what are you guys hearing for the October 7th meeting? Could we just get a list and maybe email it out to everyone beforehand? These are the problems that we have with form-based code currently that we would like to see some changes with.
And we've already heard them, Dave.
No, I don't think we've heard them all, though. I mean,
We heard from the developers at the LDC that our processes take far too long.
Right.
And now you've heard it from staff that our processes take far too long. So our whole planning approval process is mired down in reviews.
I agree with you.
I think we're
A,
all-
but I think you have to temper hearing from developers that our process is no good, because it's always gonna be too long.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, it's always gonna be too long. So we have to temper that with what we do and what they want, and somewhere we need to meet in the middle, and I don't think we're meeting in the middle now. So I think we need to try to meet in the
And
middle.
I think our staff suggestion to take off that extra review and sketch plan, that makes sense. I think
So
that's when.
those are the things I'd like to see come in front of the committee, like, these are the problems that we're having. This is the problems that having, and maybe we get developers to say that these are the problems we're having with Canandaigua. And we did hear from some of them, and it was almost universally, it was time. So we could also get time from you guys as well to say, hey, do we need form-based code? I don't know that, I can't answer
You're
that right
mixing
now.
apples with oranges. Form-based code is not necessarily tied to the time. The time has to do with every zoning area that we're gonna build in.
No, I understand that, but it sounds to me specifically to form-based code, there were things that are in form-based code that add time to the
There's an
process.
extra
I
step.
agree.
Right, so
Form-based code added a whole different layer
Right,
of
so
review.
how do we
and approval.
streamline, before we throw the baby out with the bathwater, is it possible to change that to something that's
Yes.
usable? That's what we need to look at, in my mind.
We could take out that extra sketch plan and the extra town board review. That, I think.
I would say anything greater than 5,000, that extra step is site plan for the planning board. Anything less than is either sketch or just development office review. If you meet everything, you meet everything.
Administrative.
It still gets, we still send everything out for the referrals because we
We
have
have
to.
to.
But there's no sense in, if you're only doing a 4,000 square foot building or a single family house that meets everything, why it needs to go to planning board.
Right.
That will streamline it. That removes any 3-month issues. That'll be a sub 3-month approval. I mean, you're probably looking at a month, 2 months tops for our offices to go through and review it. So, and that would take care of the sub area, which is your developable area. Anything greater than 5,000, it'd still say yes, send a planning board. Because the impacts of that,
If it's a single family home?
Yep.
Wow.
no, sorry, not a single family.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, yeah, it's commercial, I apologize. Commercial multifamily is greater than 4. Commercial is 5,000 square feet.
Why should a single family home go to planning board?
For outside? Or just form-based code,
Anyway,
anywhere?
why does the planning board need to review a single family home as long as it meets all of our building requirements?
Not the one to answer that.
I don't disagree with you going to the planning board, but I don't know, what's the problem with the planning board, timing?
Timing, we're just talking about timing. I mean, you know, the time that it adds right there to go to a planning board, first it goes to our our zoning department,
Yeah, PRC.
then it goes to the PRC, then it goes to the planning board, and then you can get a permit.
So what's that time interval?
About
3
2
months,
2 months.
minimum.
Yeah,
minimum.
If someone, we have our deadline days, right? So if someone turns in an application for a new single family home on deadline day or before deadline day or whatever. At the fastest, it would be the end of the following month. Deadline days are in the beginning of the month, so 2 months.
Do all communities do that in the area?
Yeah, I would like to
I
have somebody look
see-
at stuff, at plans.
What, why?
So there's some,
I just think I
Why?
would
Tell
like
me
to.
why. What do you want to
I
look
just
at?
think we get these people on these committees to look at things and.
Maybe we don't need it.
Well,
Just because we have the committee doesn't justify the need.
No, I'm not saying that, but I think,
That's exactly what you said.
no, I don't think the system's broken.
The system is broken.
I
I
don't
can tell you
think
for
it
a
is.
fact it is.
I don't think it is.
so there's
Why
some.
does a single family home, again, this goes back to, I buy a piece of property. You're gonna tell me what I can put on that property and what I can't, if I'm meeting all of the code restrictions?
I think they're looking at that plan. They're not telling you yes or no to that.
Well,
They're
they
gonna
need
say
to
that
look at it
plan
then
meets
for
the- What?
Why, if I'm got a piece of property, I'm building a single family home. And I meet all of the criteria and zoning that you've put before me, why does the planning board need to review it?
My opinion.
We are bogging
I'm
down the
very
planning
comfortable
board.
with
We
them.
can't even get on the agenda unless you make a particular time frame. You get the submission in by a particular date. We did that because we're bogging the planning board down. Why does the planning board, you're comfortable with it, but you still haven't answered the question. Why do they need to review it if I have met all the codes and ordinances required? They're gonna tell me what color it's gotta be? They're
I
gonna
would-
tell me
I would
what?
like that group to look at that plan and say, yes, this is a good plan or not. You
Why?
should weigh in because you're the
Yeah,
planning board.
Well, I would say that we are essentially making sure, John, that those code requirements are met.
Why do you do that rather than staff?
I'm
Well,
not an engineer.
We have an in-house engineer that looks at them besides.
No, no.
Yes.
Well, an outside engineer, excuse me, that looks at those besides.
but we also get the referrals back from the county planning board. We get the information if it's on a county highway, if they have any concerns, we certainly get code enforcement's, and all these are codified into a final resolution that approves or disapproves the application. And I think we do provide a valuable service to the town and even to the applicant, because I think sometimes the applicant doesn't realize some of the issues that have come up through our discussion. So I think it's a valuable step.
I do too.
I mean,
Yeah.
how else would we be sure of what the drainage is doing? How
The
it
engineer
impacts
takes a look at
localized
that.
neighbors? How do we make sure that it's a stable building that's properly built? I mean. how do
Well,
we do
first,
that?
the owner goes and hires a licensed engineer to design it.
How do we know if they did, if it's not going to happen?
And secondly, we have an engineer that reviews all of those drawings to ensure all that conformity.
In
And then
my
we-
mind,
And then
well,
we
this-
go and charge.
we're way off the
Yeah, I
rails
was
from what we
gonna
were
say.
starting to talk about now. So
Well,
let's
let's
get,
get started
let's-
talking
let-
about the
let's-
process.
Well, let's get back on the rails because we're talking about form-based code. So we're gonna bring some things back to the committee meeting on October 7th. Surrounding form-based code. We are gonna hope that we have a floodplain ordinance by then,
Hopefully, I
possibly.
can't control. the
Yeah, I know.
emergency.
But we're gonna look at that again, and then the bisected right of ways, we'll get Chris to look at some of that stuff, and I'll get a hold of Chris. I will try to make sure that Chris is at least available from Zoom for at least the first half hour, 45 minutes of the meeting, so if you have questions, let's front load them all to him then.
One addition, and it's kind of I tried to get it for this one. I'm gonna look at adding it's called fire alarm section of code. The only implications is that nuisance fire alarms are now a violation, or they would be underneath the code. Under state code, I don't have any issues. For instance, we have a commercial building, the fire alarm has gone off 40 times in 2 weeks because they don't want to pay to get it fixed. So it's
Who did
Yeah,
this?
fine.
commercial
The commercial building?
on 332. So,
Where's that fit in form-based code?
so state doesn't, yes, they allow me to, but this is generally what it is we had it in Victor when I was in the fire department. If your alarm goes off 4 times within a single 30-day time frame and it's a known issue that you can easily fix, okay, here's a $200 fine. And every time after that goes off, here's another $200 fine. It's a slap on the wrist, but generally it's that way so that now we're not taking up valuable resources. I tried to get something typed up.
To do all those codes.
Yeah.
So we, currently, the fire department does not do that.
No. We do not have a code for it. So It's just I didn't get time to type it up and send it off to the fire chiefs for approval.
So then we'll have that on the agenda then for next
Yep.
time. That'd be good.
In regard to enforcement, you mentioned parking on the grass with the car dealers and their flags that are signs and so on. It's a perpetual problem. Do you need a fine or an enforcement vehicle to make these guys play by the rules?
No, it's just a lot easier for me to send someone down there for 30 minutes and say, can you please move it, than it is to go to court.
File.
But that
for-
costs us money too.
Court costs a lot more. I don't know what Nadler charges per hour, but.
I mean, we're trying to dance with them, but they're not
Correct,
dancing with us.
correct.
And it's forever. Your predecessors have gone through this.
Mhm.
And yeah, they give us sales
It's,
tax money, but it's.
Are they
a nightmare.
fined right now?
No. no,
That-
not without
that's my
going to
point.
court.
We've got to put some teeth
'Cause
into our
It's one of those,
regulations.
I have
Let 'em
to-
park in the grass.
I have
Or
to-
paved cars like 30 feet. I don't know
Or
what.
or the landscape regulations.
It's,
They're
so
not-
when we go to court, the violation still has to be, the property still has to be in violation when I go to court. So I can either drive there and say, hey, come on, okay, we have all the general manager's numbers and we just call them now and say, hey, move it.
I have the perfect
It's-
punishment. After a certain number of violations, they have to follow form-based code regulations.
Or else.
And I hate to say, it, there's a lot bigger fish to fry, so.
Yeah.
Well, you
That's what we
don't
Tell them they
need
have to
to waste your
read
time
through
on it.
form-based code.
Well, that's, so I can either take, so for example, I have 22 cases going before the judge on October 17th. I can either take those 22 cases and go and file violations against every single car dealership, and they're gonna walk in and say, oh, your honor, I just moved it. Okay, no fine, have a good day. And then the very next day, they go through and they put it back, and then the very next 2 months, I'm in court. The only way to not have them do it is to go before county, which is gonna take Chris and I oodles and oodles and oodles of a lot more time. So,
So we have to keep dancing.
it's just one of those where I use it, it's the
I
perfect
agree.
example. It's horrible, but it's
Go down forever.
the process.
They own the grass that you're parking in.
Right away.
Some-
State right
That's
away.
what says the right of way. That's one issue. But is it all of it parking in the right of way?
Not
or
all
is
of
it-
I like
Not all.
the-
The issue is the fluid leaks. I mean, a perfect example is Corby's collision. I mean, they have vehicles that have been involved in accidents sitting on the grass, and then I go over and there's oil and
Oh,
other fluids that are leaking out, and it's like, okay, come on, there's a wetland 20 feet from you. That whole area of 332 in the car dealerships is surrounded by wetlands.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's a, so that's.
I would see those as two different issues. Something leaking fluids out,
Mm.
yeah.
I got I have a
And that's
major
why-
problem
And
with
the
that.
grass.
That's generally why I say that the intent was there within the grass, is so that we don't have those issues.
Right.
It's not so much, hey, you can't park on the grass, it's so that should your vehicle leak something, it's not going directly onto the grass.
See, now
So it's
How
Kimberly,
many of the
I
new
would ask
vehicles are
Kimberly, it's
leaking?
probably better if it does filter through the grass than on the pavement.
Neither's a good option, though,
Neither's
right?
good.
Depends on what, exactly.
All right, guys, let's,
I
just
make a
a
motion
motion.
to
Wrap it up.
adjourn the ordinance
Second.
committee.
Sure.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. October 7th,
Um,
9 AM.
before you go, Mike, what's the deal with, our friends at Big Lots area?
Give me about 3 seconds, thank you.
I'm not done yet.